Now that we're a few months into the Black Ops 6 season, I've dialed in every little detail that makes me play the best, from computer specs, controller build, graphic settings, and class setups. Everything has been experimented with until I found the perfect setup for Black Ops 6. All right, what's up guys? First off, we're gonna start off with the streaming room slash gaming room. Over here, we're gonna start with this side first. This is my E United champs jersey that we wore on Sunday, that we won with when I got my first ring, which is obviously means a lot to me. Then we can go over to the shelf here. There's like kind of like my shelf of just, you know, my ring, my picture frame of like when we won champs in Cold War. These are shoes that Pseudo made for us back in MW 2019. She kind of asked us like what anime that we like when we were younger, whatever, so she could like draw it on a shoe, and she actually killed that. This is my MVP from Cold War champs. Oh, this is fire. So this is like a necklace that our owner gave us after we won champs. It like spins and it has like the Atlanta FaZe logo. Ooh, this is the big one. My girlfriend made this for me. And she actually ended up surprising me with it after we won EWC. I came back home and she had it like made and everything. She had like all the pictures printed and she like put it in a frame. Really cool stuff right there. I want to go over this picture. This is when we won Black Ops 4 champs. Obviously means a lot to me, and it's even cooler because our GM gave this to me as like a gift, and he obviously wrote on it and he put, "Tyler, you were the MVP of my eyes, GG again." Matt, which is Burns, obviously. That was a dope gift to get, to be honest, after we won champs. And then also, I have two more little pictures over here when we won playoffs, and this was also from United. They gave us like these, and then Burns wrote on this one as well. He put, "Congrats, Tyler, you were already a GOAT. So proud of your progress this year, the first of many." And yeah, that was when we won playoffs. It was right before we won champs in Black Ops 4. So this is also another dope gift from him and from E United, like the org. So also, let me show you the rings. This is my Black Ops 4 ring, which this one's a big boy. E United on the side, and then it's cool on the inside. It has like my gamer tag. But the Cold War one is sick too because our owner got them custom made. He ended up putting like actual rubies for like the red, obviously for FaZe. Our owner killed it with the customization on the ring. But yeah, like I said, that's really it for the, obviously need another ring to put up there, hopefully. And yeah, that's really it for the bookshelf. Come over here, we got the whole gaming setup, a lot of the fallen soldiers over here, the controllers that I've used in the past. Above the setup, I got the Cold War, like us lifting the champs trophy after we won, right above the setup, which is good motivation every time I get on. Just look up there and be like, I gotta win another one. But then I got some nano lease over there. Nice little love sack if I wanna lay down, relax every now and then. That's really it. I mean, got a bathroom over there, but so I think I have a 4080. I think I have a 4080. Wait, maybe it's a 5080.
5080.
Is that even out? All right, so for my monitors that I have on my setup, this monitor, the Asus 165 hertz monitor, I've had this for a long time. I think I've had this one for like 6 years. For the middle one, this is an Omen monitor. This is the league monitor that we use to compete on at like events and even at the facility. It's a 24-inch monitor, 240 hertz, and it's a 1080p monitor. So I kind of want to, you know, use what I can pretty much play. What pretty much I want to play. What is those saying? I can't remember.
Practice how you play.
Yeah. That the holy shit. I just had a. So that's why I use the Omen monitor at home as well. That way I'm, you know, locked in whenever I go to the facility or whenever I'm on LAN competing. I use the same thing. And for this monitor on the side, this is kind of just like my monitor that I throw OBS, music, whatever on whenever I'm streaming. And that does it for my monitors. And then to get into the good stuff, the PC. For my processor for this PC, I have a i9 13.9K. For the graphics card, I have a GeForce 4080. And yeah, that does it for the specs, I guess. So for my controller setup now, I have an interesting controller setup here. The GOAT controller, Battle Beaver, this is what I use. Basically, for my controller build, I use smart buttons and smart triggers. Obviously, those make the world of a difference. Obviously, just like the mouse click helps so much when it comes to like reaction time, and I feel like it's kind of a must on controllers now. I use PS5 sticks. Battle Beaver recently came out with Magneto sticks, which that's what I'm using right now. I recently just switched to them, actually literally 2 weeks ago. They sent me the new Magneto sticks, and honestly, they feel super nice. The one big thing about them that I feel like is like a game changer is you can turn your dead zone all the way down to basically almost 0 and basically get like no stick drift, which is nuts because it makes your reaction time just a little bit quicker. And then to go into depth about kind of like my button placements, I have a very weird button placements on the back of my controller. I use 2 buttons, but I had Battle Beaver kind of customize it for me to how my fingers will lay on them the right way. So it's kind of weird whenever I'm holding my controller, I'll use my middle finger for the right button and I'll use my ring finger for the left button. When I first started using Battle Beaver, I was using standard button placement and I kind of had to get used to how weird it felt. But then they told me, they're like, if you mark on the controller where your fingers land, then we can do it for you and like put the button exactly where it lands on your finger. So now I have like a customized like button placement, which is, yeah, like one of them's like super far on the inside and then the other one's like super far out for my ring finger. And then for my button placements, I use X for my left one and circle for the right, pretty much like what everyone else uses. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else different really, but yeah, that does it for my controller build. All right, so now we're gonna go into the graphics settings first and kind of go over all the stuff that's very important here. Obviously, play on whatever the highest resolution is that you can play on. Going down to sharpening and upscaling, this one's big. Make sure you are on Fidelity Cast. I know some people will use DLSS depending on their PC. If they have I would say a worse PC or a PC that you don't get as many frames on, then I would probably try DLSS because I'm pretty sure DLSS is the one where you get a little bit more frames, but the quality will look worse. So that's why I tell everyone to use Fidelity Cast and make sure that your strength is on 100. It'll make the game look very just clear, and I definitely think it's the best setting, like one of the top settings for graphics. Going down here, VRAM, I have mine on 85. I think you can have it from like 75, 85, and even up to like 90. I know people put it on 90. I don't think this matters as much. Variable rate shading, I think a lot of people have this turned on. I don't know exactly what it does, but my coach told me to turn it on, so I turned it on. And then go down here, texture resolution. I think most pros play on like low or normal because whenever it comes to like our PCs on for the league at like the facility and things like that, it's kind of hard for us to turn this up because we won't get as many frames. So I always really put that on low or normal depending. This I put it on high because apparently it doesn't really affect your frames as much, and people say it makes your game look a little bit better, so I always just put this on high. Depth of field, you definitely want this turned off. It's gonna add a little bit of blur to the sides of your gun, so you definitely want that turned off. Detail quality, put that on low. Most of the stuff you're gonna put on low, is it doesn't really matter. Like particle resolution, you want this turned all the way down because I feel like some of this stuff just takes up a lot of frames. Bullet impacts, I have that turned on just so I can, you know, see where I'm shooting, I guess. Persistence effects off, shader quality low. I feel like you want all this turned all the way down. I know some people say turn the download limits on and then put it all the way down to 1 like this. Shadow quality very low. Screen space shadows off. All this off, low. Basically all this down to very low or off, whatever the low setting is it doesn't really matter, and it'll just help add frames. Going over to the view tab now, my FOV in game I use is 100. Most pros go between, or at least multiplayer pros go between 90 to 110 is like kind of the range. No one really goes over or under that. I would say 70% of them, 75% of pros will play on 100 because it's like the perfect middle ground. I feel like once you go over 105, it can get sketchy because it's just harder to see people in multiplayer. And you want to have that middle ground of being able to see people, but not, you know, it being super zoomed out, kind of like Warzone. Because I know most Warzone pros play on 120, but I feel like multiplayer is a lot different. So I play on 100. ADS field of view obviously affected. Independent's gonna make it zoom in more whenever you're aimed down sights. I think everyone plays unaffected now pretty much. I know MC is like an anomaly. My teammate, he plays on independent, I'm pretty sure still. So, but I play unaffected. Weapon field of view, I play on wide. It kind of zooms your gun out a little bit more so it looks cleaner when you're like running around. I don't think this setting matters as much. It's kind of like preference. Motion blur, you want both of these turned off. Like you definitely want both of these turned off. It's gonna make your game look blurry. You don't want them turned on. This first person camera movement, you want it turned down to least. That way it's not shaking and stuff like that when you're running around. You definitely don't want that. And yeah, that's going to do it for the view tab. I mean, you can turn inverted flashbang on if you want. It's going to turn your screen black instead of white when you get flashed. We don't really have to worry about flashes in competitive, thankfully. But I have it turned off because, like I said, we don't really have to worry about flashes like that. But that's going to do it for the view tab. And then we'll go over to the controller settings now. So this is where I said my controller settings are very weird. I don't play like any other pro. So when it comes to my button layout, in game, I'll change my right stick to jump pretty much. Like you can see it right here. All like the button assignments for my controller. I switch my jump in my R3 pretty much. So I jump on my right stick, as you can see right there. And then I slide with my back left button, which is my X, and then I punch with my back right. And then everything else, like I also shoot with my bumpers. I know a lot of pros shoot with their triggers. I feel like that's kind of preference depending on how you hold the controller. Then let's see, that's pretty much it for my layout there. And then for my sensitivity, I play on 1.65, which I don't know why they changed this. They changed it so late into the game. I mean, I don't know who thought this was a good idea. Because obviously sensitivity used to be going from 1 to 20 and that was it. But I guess they did this so you could be more, I guess, accurate with where you want your sensitivity to be. They gave like a little chart on, you know, what each sensitivity equals. And I'm pretty sure when they first came out with the chart, whenever they came out with the update, the chart wasn't accurate. So it kind of like threw everyone for a loop. But I think people figured it out. I play on 1.65, which I think is 7.7, or it basically is like 6.6 from last year. So that's what I use. A lot of different pros use different stuff. Most people hover around this area between 1.65. I would say between like 1.55 to 1.7 or 1.75 is probably where most pros sensitivities are. I just play on 1.65. It feels good. And then going down here, controller vibration, that's kind of preference. Dead zones are kind of big. So like I was saying, with the new Magneto sticks that I use on my controller, you can turn your right stick dead zone pretty much all the way down to like 0 or 1, and you don't really have any stick drift. And that's why I love these sticks so much. They just feel like they're super, super responsive. But for my dead zones, my left stick, I put it on 0. You want that turned all the way down. That way your movement and everything feels super smooth and it reacts the fastest it could possibly be. Left stick max, I turn this down to around, some pros play on 99 still. I like to turn it down. People kind of came up with this thing a few years ago where you turn it down to around like 60. I would say between 60 and like 80. It'll ramp up faster. So your stick will kind of like almost in a way like react. I forgot the explanation for it, but a lot of pros now will have their left stick max between 60 to like 80. I put mine on 70. And then right stick, you want this turned as far down as you can without getting stick drift. So I have mine on 1. Right stick max, I think everyone pretty much puts this on 99. And then left trigger, right trigger, I usually put the left trigger, right trigger on the same as my right stick minimum. And yeah, that does it for the dead zones. Let's go over to the aiming tab now. Sensitivity multiplier. Some people do this. I haven't really changed it, but they'll change their multiplier for like the Hellstorm missile. They can turn the multiplier up so it'll like move a little bit quicker whenever you're, because I'm pretty sure in this game, the Hellstorm, if you don't turn the multiplier up a little bit, it moves very slow. So if you want to turn this up to kind of make your Hellstorm move quicker whenever you call it in, then you could turn this up. And then aiming advanced settings, this is big. You want your aim response curve type to be on dynamic if you're a controller player. Everyone's been using dynamic now for like 5 years. So if you're not on dynamic, I feel like you're kind of trolling. It kind of makes your movements when you're moving around snappier. So that's why a lot of people use it, because it ramps up faster. But I would definitely use dynamic. And then let's see, go down. Target aim assist, you want that on if you're using controller. To the movement tab now. So pros, we can't really use ATS obviously because it's GA'd. We use sprint assist on. When you turn your sprint assist on though, you want to make sure your sprint assist delay is turned all the way down to 0. Even if you're on ATS or tactical sprint assist, you want that turned all the way down to 0. It's going to make your movement more responsive. Sprint assist sideways, backwards, I have both of these turned on. That way, like whenever you're moving side to side, it'll automatically make you sprint. And when you're moving backwards, it'll automatically make you sprint. Mantle assist, I have this turned off because I hate when I just mantle on random things, especially in competitive. It's very frustrating. Crouch assist, turned off. Corner slice, turned off. Slide dive behavior, I have this turned on hybrid. I think most sub players in the league use hybrid. I know a lot of ARs still use slide only because I feel like when you're an AR, you don't really have to dive as much as a sub player, but I use hybrid. That way I can dive around. Sprint restore, I have this turned on. Slide maintain sprint, I have that turned on. And then mantle cancels reload, I have that turned off. Movement advanced settings, I have this tactical sprint activation. I have this turned on single tap sprint because single tap run is GA'd. So I think every pro right now is on single tap sprint, or they should be at least. And then you want ground and mantle turned off because if not, you'll make you just randomly mantle on stuff, which is super irritating. And then I always have this on partial because it'll help you. If it like prevents a fall, it'll mantle for you. I know some people play with this completely turned off as well. It's really just preference, but I like mine on partial. I think that does it for the movement settings. And then other than that, you have the combat settings here. I think the big one for this is you want the body shield. You want it to prioritize body shield because I feel like the finishing move in competitive is completely pointless because you're just gonna be sitting there in the animation for like 5 seconds. But with body shield, you can grab someone and then you can, shoot at people at the same time.
Situation right now, he's got the perfect read. No, do it! No, oh, he knows. Oh, Abe, you are one mean little mother.
I'm pretty sure that does it right there for the controller tab. Now we're gonna go into the audio tab. This is gonna be a quick one. There isn't really much that you have to change in the audio tab. All this is preference, I would say, the game volumes and stuff like that. Everyone probably turns the gameplay music off unless, you just like it, which I don't really like to have those turned on. And then even the cinematic music, I have that turned off. But audio mix, I use headphones. A lot of pros use Sucker Punch because apparently it helps you hear things a little bit better. I don't really like Sucker Punch because the gun sounds are super loud and I don't really like that. So that's why I use headphones. And then tinnitus sound, you want this turned on because if not, when you get stunned or flashed, it's going to make like a loud ringing and it makes it not as loud if you turn this on. So I would suggest turning this on because it'll help. That does it for the audio tab. And then I will say the last tab here is interface. There is a few things in here that is kind of big. If you want to turn on your FPS or your server latency to see what ping you're on, and also to see if you're losing packets, if your internet's like, or the server's messed up, then I would suggest turning these 3 on. Most people have these 3 turned on no matter what. And then this is a big one too. It'll make your game look a lot better. I prefer to use this is the color customization. I'll change my enemy. I know a lot of people play with different colors for their enemy, whatever. I use red and I always use the brightest one. That way on the mini map, it shows up more. So I use I'm pretty sure the default red is this one, but I like this one because it's brighter. Now, this is the biggest thing for the interface tab, I feel like, is the color filter. I don't know why this is turned to 70. I feel like it should be on 100. I'm pretty sure I use 100 at the facility. For color filter, most people, if they do use the color filter, they use filter 2 because it looks the best. It'll make your game look vibrant. So I use filter 2 and then you can put the intensity on 100 so it looks more colorful. And then I think crosshair is, personal preference. I like to only use a center dot. I know a lot of pros use static. That way they actually still have a crosshair. I feel like the crosshair is distracting to me sometimes, so that's why I have it turned off. And then you want your compass turned off because that's kind of pointless. And then a big thing too is your HUD bounds. I have this zoomed all the way in because it'll make your minimap get a little bit closer to the center of your screen. Minimap shape, I have this turned on square because it probably makes your minimap just a tad bit bigger. And the minimap in this game isn't that good, to be fair. So you definitely want it as big as possible. Other than that, I think the only other thing I would say that you could change that will help make your minimap a little bit bigger is people will change the scale of their minimap so it'll make it a little bit bigger. I turn mine up to 110 so it makes it a little larger. And that's pretty much it for the interface tab. Now we're going to get into the classes here.
I pretty much only have 4 classes that I use whenever it comes to matches, scrims, whatever, and I have them named off as well. So my first class is the Jackal Simtex. We'll go into the attachments and stuff first for the Jackal. This is the attachments we have to use because the muzzle got G8 on the sub, and we have to use recoil springs now, so that's why I'm using recoil springs over the muzzle. I use Gain Twist, Ranger, Ergonomic, Infiltrator, and a recoil springs, and that is my subclass. And then to go over to the pistol, we're only allowed to use 2 attachments on the pistol, Fast Mag 2 and Ergonomic. And I'm pretty sure we're allowed to use a red dot if we want to on it, but I've just never used one. And then these are the main perks that most pros run. I'm pretty sure we have to run Fast Mag or Fast Hands for perk 2. And then Ninja is like a necessity in this game because you can just sound whore everything if you don't have it on. There are some sub players that use Dexterity over Flak in Respawn. Is a risky move. I mean, it's kind of like it's a trade-off because obviously if you're not using Flak, you can get one-nated. I personally use Flak because I just hate getting one-nated, especially in hardpoint, or I would say S&D is more important to have Flak on. I've gave Dex a try and I don't really know how I feel about it. I feel like it's hard to notice a difference. But then double time is also a necessity for perk 3. Field upgrade, you can use a trophy. Obviously, I'm on assault pack because we're only allowed to use 2 trophies per team. So I'm one of the players that uses the assault pack. For my AR class, I'm probably the only pro that uses this AR like setup because a lot of pros use the Infiltrator stock, but for my AR setup, I use Ranger foregrip, which most people, what they do is they take off Ranger and they put on the Infiltrator because it makes you strafe super fast. I prefer to use Ranger because I'm a sub player and Ranger makes you run a little bit quicker. If I ever pull out an AR, which I'm like the last person on the team to pull out an AR because I'm like our fastest sub, so I never really pull it out. But if I do, I still want to be quick, so that's why I use Ranger. Ergonomic, reinforced, ported, and microflex. The attachments for the guns could obviously change over time just because of GAs and things like that. Maybe there's a buff to the sub, or a nerf to the sub, so they might add some attachments in over time, but this is just the current class setup. Things could change in the future. That does it for the class setup.
All right, guys, that's gonna do it for the setup tour and the settings and the PC specs and all that stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to, like and subscribe for more future content, because obviously I'm gonna be putting some more YouTube content out there soon. And yeah, I appreciate you guys, and peace out.